Okay, so apparently we just beat the devil, so I guess we're summoning.
No, not the devil, a devil.
Oh, so are there
Well,
more than one devils, or is it just? I've never gotten the distinction between devils and demons, or whatnot.
I think it's some Dungeons and Dragons
Well, no,
thing.
Dungeons and Dragons has its own thing where devils are lawful evil and demons are chaotic evil, and then there's demons spelled Daemon, which are neutral. Okay, but like in like actual like mythologies and religion is oh, you
Uh,
found your face. That's good. Like I always assume that demons are random things floating around in hell, and the devil is just the one devil, Satan, Lucifer, whatever you want to call him.
Jim.
Jim. Okay, Jim. Can he open his eyes?
No.
Oh. Oh well,
That's
that's
what we're going to work on him again? Is that what we're trying to do? Open his eyes up?
well, I don't know. Being a Mr. Potato Head, if he only has closed eyes pieces, you can't do much about it.
Oh, so his eyes are googly eyes.
Yeah.
So
I
if he
suppose
opens them up, yeah, he has googly eyes for real eyes. He's embarrassed about that.
Okay, so this is the last type of guilt we'll operate on in the game. It's basically this is what I consider the final boss of the DS game, because I honestly do not like the 6th chapter in the DS game, and I just pretend it doesn't exist because it's pointless. And that kind of fucks up things when I play Under the Knife 2, because that game has some weird obsession with the first game's 6th chapter for whatever reason. But whatever. So when you were
Well,
talking,
that's probably why the sixth chapter exists then, to tie into the second game.
well, it's just weird because the second game was made like 4 years afterwards, so it's just odd, I suppose. So anyway, you were talking about soundtrack dissonance. Well, for our operation, it's time to get the fake Latin chorus going for evil spider thing.
okay.
All right, sure.
Spider! Spider!
It has webs.
Eight legs!
Okay, so apparently Peter Parker's web fluid is super high temperatures because it actually melts the scalpel every time you cut one, and you need to wait for the scalpel to recharge before you can use it again. I think in
Like the scalpel recharges?
well, yeah, the justification is that it does melt the scalpel, and Angie just has a box of them, a box of scalpels next to her, and she's handing you a new one.
Luckily,
But-
I brought my emergency box of scalpels with me.
Wait, doesn't that mean that we could get adamantium claws?
I suppose so. So what you need to do is while you're
So this is just a prototype for Weapon X.
I guess so, yeah. So every once in a while, the spider will. Well, its name is Sabato, but the spider will occasionally make new webs and spawn the lice. The lice is a prototype for the full spider, or it's a baby form. I'm not sure. You just zap them and they go away. And then you wanna. I like to keep on trying to zap him because he'll dodge, and usually keeping him busy like that will make him spawn a web slower. So that's why I try to do that. You have to lather, rinse, repeat a couple of times for this first phase. There's like 3 phases to the boss fight, because of course there is.
So since this has unique music, is it final boss?
Sort of. I guess I'll explain the first game's final chapter now. In the first game, it goes up from chapter 5 basically the same exact way, and the music plays here. And then in chapter 6, you go on a boat and you just operate on all of the guilds again in order. And then you operate on the last operation you do is on a random kid with Sabado again. It's the same exact operation every single time, and then the game ends. It's just a bizarre ending, and I honestly would have just rather had it end here, but it doesn't for some reason. So yeah, this is essentially the final boss, though. It's the hardest guild. It's really one of the only ones where the 10-minute time limit is ever an issue. Okay, so
It's a good thing though. It's a good thing the laser missing with the laser doesn't have any serious repercussions on the organs.
actually it does. If you spam the laser for too long on the same part of a body that's like not hurt in any way, you will do damage to the patient.
In terms of a vital drop, or
somewhat vital drop, but you'll also like do holes, put holes in them that you have to heal with the antibiotic gel. Same thing with the scalpel too. If you just randomly slash with that thing, you will have cuts that you need to suture back up. So yeah, in this part, you have to start lasering him a whole bunch, and then while dealing with the lice and the cuts. There we go. This part isn't too hard. It's just a matter of I think the most annoying part about it is that you use the laser for two different things, so it's very liable to run out of juice an awful lot. So that's a little bit annoying. And you don't want to leave too many of the little lice lying around because they might form a blue one, and that would suck in this area. So now, when he starts dodging your laser blast, that's when you want to slice it open with the scalpel. And then you go over to the next point. After you heal all the wounds that are left over, of course, which is your chance to raise the vitals back up if you're running low. If you've got no wounds at the moment, you'll just immediately go to the second half, which might not be optimal depending on your situation, but chances are there's probably going to be something, some cut still lingering about, or one lice or something, I don't know. You can also get a pretty, if you're good about not getting oh shit! Jesus!
I think it's the biggest laceration we've seen in the entire game.
Yeah. I got a cool for that.
Scribble, man! Scribble!
Scribble like your life depended on it.
Scribble like you're an artist.
Well, it's not your life that depends on it.
Yeah, it's someone else's. Fuck 'em.
Yeah.
Unless it's a bomb, then your life sort of depends on it.
Sort of. Oh, well, we can go back in time. I forgot.
Yeah. Remember, you can always just try again.
Although, one detail I do like about the bomb level is that most of the time when you fail a mission, they have the sad music play while it says Derek will never operate again or something like that. In the bomb level, you just blow up and then it says try again without that shit because it's like, oh, you're dead.
Derek will never perform surgery again. No shit.
Because he's dead.
So is that bad in a good way?
No, it's just your ranking for it. You did heal the wounds, so it is gone, but you don't get any points for it, and your combo bonus goes away. So yeah, the game is not entirely specific about what constitutes a bad as opposed to a good or a cool, because as you can tell, I have gotten cools for scribbling and bads on actually decent sutures. So.
Try to be precise is not the way to go.
Oh, yeah, you guys are here for some reason. Okay, so they give you a serum now for the last phase of the boss fight. It's basically the same part now, but this time, however, after you have to inject the serum after you get to the point where you need to cut into them. I forgot to mention the most bullshit part about this mission. Normally, you might be tempted to use the healing touch, because, it is very easy for your vitals to go down, and you might want to, like, spam the vital fluid or whatever. Don't use the healing touch in this mission. You will lose. If you use the healing touch at any point in this mission, other than the very, very end, you will lose. Because, hold on, we're going to get to that point soon enough. I'm just trying to deal with all the crap that's going on here. Although, at this point, I should probably just, kill him. Because if you, once you kill the sourdough, all of the other wounds will disappear. So, you have to inject the stuff. Derek will automatically use the healing touch here. And then you have to use the healing touch yourself.
What?
And, yeah. You have to use the healing touch yourself while you already used the healing touch in order to inject the serum into him. Because if you don't use the healing touch, then he'll just dodge infinitely. And you won't be able to win. So it's really bullshit if you go through a 10-minute long operation, and then, you used your healing touch already, and then you just lose. So, yeah.
Do they warn you about that?
Nope.
Are you sure? Because that's a real dick move.
It is. It is a real dick move. They do not warn you about that. It happens every single time you operate on Sato, though, so now you know about it for future reference, but yeah. That is, I think, honestly, the most bullshit thing in the game. But I got an S, though. That's pretty good, I guess. You didn't cry. You've got tears right there. Okay, alright, well, that's kind of an abrupt ending.
Ain't nobody got time for somber endings.
Nah, we gotta go back. We gotta go back in time for this mission. Okay, I guess now is probably a good time to explain Kimishima and her translation bafflingness. Okay, so in the original
Eggman, stop invading.
Okay, so in the original Japanese script, Dr. Kimishima is an American who moved to Japan and to be a doctor because, you know, they kicked her out because reasons. They're never too specific about that. And then at the end of the game, she takes asylum back in America in exchange for information about Delphi, the cult here. She just sort of sells them information about what's been going on, and they agree to take her back with, like, a pardon or whatever. In this game, however, she's a Japanese immigrant to America. You know, it happens in reverse. But instead of taking refuge back in Japan, she takes refuge in Europe, which, as we know, is this game's America. Because, And then in Trauma Team, where she's playable again, she's back in America again. So it's just...
the continuity of this series just screams clusterfuck.
Yeah, it's just... If they had stayed consistent with it. Because, like, you know, Phoenix Wright, as stupid as, you know, some of the justifications can get, they stay consistent, you know?
And that's supposed to be comedic, so...
Yeah, well, at this point, it's just, you know, watching the translation team try to figure out how to make this stuff still fit in America is half the fun. I can't wait till... I'm actually really hoping that Daigakuten Saiban comes out, because... Have you seen that trailer, John?
Which one?
The trailer for
game?
the new Ace Attorney game that takes place in early 19th century Japan.
I didn't know there was a trailer, no.
No, well, there's a trailer for it, and it's, you know, very Japanese. So I wanna... I know the game's probably not gonna come out in the US, because if Investigations 2 didn't, you know, that doesn't stand a chance.
Oh, hey, you know, that comes out in America, just say it takes place during the colonial times.
Well, no, I think Wild
Japanese
West.
Cultural Fair.
Yeah.
The Mount Rushmore Festival of Lights.
Wait,
oh,
what?
God. Oh, it's Detective Conan, or Case Closed, as it was called in America. Funimation really tried really hard to Americanize it when they were still showing it on television. So there was a culture festival at one point with like big old Japanese letters on fire on mountainsides, and
that has to do with the Meiji Revolution, but yeah.
Yeah, and in the dub version they called it the Mount Rushmore Festival of Lights, even though it was clearly not Mount Rushmore. Everyone was running around in kimonos and festival masks. It was just... what the hell?
They didn't even bother to explain
a Mount Rushmore fire. You know, you say you got giant Japanese symbols on fire on a mountainside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they try to
Mount Rushmore? Yeah, if it was Mount Rushmore.
Even 4Kids did better job of that in Pokemon.
But say if they did make it a Mount Rushmore, you think they light Linking's hair on fire?
Well, like, 4Kids would just make signs blank if they had Japanese writing on it, and I think in one of the newer seasons of Pokemon they changed a rice ball to a sandwich. Like, they actually changed the animations. Did they do any of that, or did they just leave all that alone?
Well, I'm not sure what the TV aired version did, because I got the DVDs and they're actually uncut, because they come with the Japanese voices and everything. So,
oh, okay.
I'm not sure what the TV aired version was. That was like ages and ages ago.
It's just... Mount Rushmore Festival of Lights has gotta be even worse than Jelly Donuts.
Well, at least in 4Kids Pokemon, when they go to the festival with kimonos, so they just call it a festival.
Yeah.
They don't
They-
try
they
to
just-
Americanize it anyway.
Yeah, they just made it really vague. But, Pokemon does have the slight advantage of taking place in a completely different world. So,
Well, not initially, no, but
well, not initially,
Well,
but
Kanto
it
is
might
an
as
actual
well.
region of Japan.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure Cerulean City doesn't exist there.
Early Pokemon was based off Earth.
yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
you read like the Mew documents, like they found them in South America. Or something
Yeah.
like that.
Lieutenant Surge is an American guy at the base.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
but
now
then,
Unnovan.
but then after a while, they just sort of gave up.
Yeah.
Yeah.